my name is John Slipik, and I'm an applications engineer here with Hot Creek Systems. Quite often I am asked, why should I switch to DriveWorks Pro? Or, why should I pay the extra money? And what am I getting for that? So I thought I'd have a little talk about this and share with you my personal top 5 reasons to upgrade to DriveWorks Pro. So let's get started from the bottom of my list with number 5, free plugins. DriveWorks Pro comes with the capability to install plugins. These plugins can extend the functionality of DriveWorks, adding such things as new user-defined functions and specification tasks. The best part is DriveWorks maintains a series of these plugins, better known as Power Packs, on the DriveWorks Labs section of their customer portal. These plugins are completely free to download as a customer. I highly recommend starting with the Specification Power Pack. But as you can see, these Power Packs may also add advanced support for things such as Salesforce.com as well as PayPal integration. Furthermore, if you're fluent with Visual Studio or Visual Studio Express, you can develop your own plugins by requesting the DriveWorks SDK. To see which plugins you have installed, you can access them from the settings within DriveWorks Administrator, followed by the Plugin Settings tab. Next on our list is number 4. Richer form controls in 3D. Let's begin by comparing the different form controls between DriveWorks Solo and DriveWorks Pro. In DriveWorks Solo, we have access to 11 basic form controls. You can utilize these to build an effective basic UI meant to assist internal business units such as engineering and sales. However, even with internal-only needs, you could potentially run into a wall due to the lack of enhanced form controls. For example, due to the lack of a date picker control, you may have to spend additional time writing workaround rules. So now let's compare this to what DriveWorks Pro can offer. As you can see, DriveWorks Pro has a much larger set of form controls. On the left side, there are 2 additional basic controls, the date picker and data tables. To get you thinking, let's take a look at an example of what the data table control could do for your project. I've written a rule to fill the control with some color information. The actual data is stored in a simple table. As I click on various rows, the data selected can be used elsewhere, which may be seen in my label below my data table. As for the date picker, it will allow us to pick a date off of a calendar type of format. Additionally, with the date picker, we can set certain options on it, such as a date format, as well as minimum and maximum date values. This is just the tip of the iceberg, however, because in addition to the date picker and data table, we have these 12 advanced form controls to take your project to another level. In particular, the macro button and frame controls are especially powerful and will enable you to build projects that look and feel just like a website. Let's take a look at the bifolding door project on DriveWorksLive.com. Because of frame controls, this project is able to display numerous smaller forms and buckets on one larger form. This allows us to display a great deal of information in a far more organized, logical manner to the user. As for the macro buttons being used on this project, they appear as arrows in the bottom of the left frame. In this particular application, the macro buttons are being used to swap the actual form that is being displayed in the frame above it. However, this is just one application of a macro button. You can actually use a macro button to launch any number of specification macros that you can build yourself. Lastly, with DriveWorks Pro, we can generate 3D previews. As I fill out my form controls on the left, you can see 3D data in front of me changes in real time. Not only will the 3D preview allow us to reflect changes in dimensional data, but we can also swap out appearance data such as textures and bump maps, as well as allow us to control lighting elements in the scene. But if you really want, you can also let the user interact with your 3D. I can rotate the scene around, and I can interact with the model itself. And in this case, there's a macro button that allows me to do all of this again from another vantage point altogether. Let's move along to number 3 on our list, database input and output. One of the most sophisticated features of DriveWorks Pro is its capability to interface with databases. Not only can it pull data from a database, but DriveWorks can also push data right back. By far, the easiest way to pull data from a database is by setting it up as a table. In my case here, I already have a bunch of simple tables set up. To see what else we can do, however, let's click Add. Here we can see that I can add an SQL Server data table, as well as an ODBC data table. SQL is by far the better option. Setting up a connection follows more of a wizard-style interface, whereas ODBC will cover any other database format you can imagine. However, setting up an ODBC connection does require a bit more knowledge, and in certain cases may require you to write a connection string. If SQL is not an option for you, I recommend bookmarking this website, connectionstrings.com. You can go here and simply copy and paste the appropriate string, and then alter it to suit your environment. Pushing data back into a database works very similar in DriveWorks. It requires a data document to be set up. If I add a new document, we can see I have numerous options. In addition to export to ODBC, we also have export to SQL Server. Keep in mind that pushing data back is going to require some additional rules to be written, so that DriveWorks knows what specifically you want to write. By being able to interface with any database imaginable, DriveWorks is essentially able to integrate with virtually any third-party software system. Examples, of course, will include CRM, MRP, and ERP systems. This also means you can even integrate with SOLIDWORKS PDM using DriveWorks. If you wish to explore the integration topic a little deeper, I recommend going to DriveWorksLive.com, scrolling down until you see the DriveWorks Technology section, and then go down a little bit further from there and click the Explore button on integration. Next up is number 2, Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Word documents. When many people first discover DriveWorks, most of the time they learn about how it automates SOLIDWORKS models. However, I would argue that it is even more useful at automating documentation. Before I elaborate, let's take a look at the document options for DriveWorks Solo. We have access to a BOM document, a cover letter, as well as a quote document. All of these are XML-based documents which are meant to get the job done easily, and although they do work well, they can be cumbersome if you have a large number of line items. As well, they can only be restyled so much without considerable effort. Switching to DriveWorks Pro, we can see there are far more documents you can automate, including Excel workbooks, in addition to Word documents. The fact of the matter is Excel and Word are exceptional at what they do, so why fight with any of the XML options when we can use something that is not only more functional, but can also be visually restyled with great ease. To show you an example, here's an Excel template I downloaded for creating invoices. Through the use of named cells, I essentially create buckets in my template which DriveWorks Pro can then recognize and thereby push data into. For example, the invoice number. I'm going to click on that. In the top left, I'm going to give it a name, invoice number. Take a look at all the names in my sheet. Click on the name manager. You can see everything I'm going to be able to drive data into. On the DriveWorks Pro side, I add a new document, an Excel workbook, give it a name. Then pick the template that I saved, invoice. Once I hit finish, you can see that not only can I write rules for the document name and document path, but all the named cells that we set up in the Excel template, including the invoice number. The process for Word is very similar, only instead of named cells, we create bookmarks. Take any piece of paper in your entire business, anything at all, and we can automate it with DriveWorks. Consider documentation that isn't even related to the ordering or design process. It isn't just about design automation anymore. And finally, let's talk about number 1 on our list, DriveWorks Modules. DriveWorks Pro introduces a suite of unique software packages which more or less provide us with more implementation options. What you actually need boils down to how you want your automation to be used. To begin with, DriveWorks Administrator is what I usually like to call the programming tool. You use this to develop and also run your automation projects. With this tool, you'll need to click a button in SOLIDWORKS to actually generate your models. Since it will take you some time to build and fine-tune your projects, you really only need this to get started. And once it is ready for showtime, you can explore the other modules. Autopilot is essentially a generation server. You install Autopilot onto a server along with a seed of SOLIDWORKS, and anytime it sees your automation being run, it will automatically launch SOLIDWORKS and generate your models. Not only does this free up a machine from constantly generating things all day, but also the person having to run it. Furthermore, Autopilot also comes packed with additional functionalities such as email, connectors, and triggered actions. If you like to put your automation in the hands of an order entry or a sales team, I would recommend DriveWorks User. DriveWorks User is a standalone tool which you install that will let you run automation, however, not develop it. Keep in mind, this does mean that if SOLIDWORKS models are required, then this user will need to ask somebody to launch the model generation within SOLIDWORKS. The best part though is DriveWorks User comes in at a much lower price point than DriveWorks Administrator. This makes it a much more cost-effective tool to put your automation in the hands of more people. DriveWorks Live is similar to DriveWorks User in the sense that we can use it to put our automation in the hands of more people at a much lower price point. Except it is much better than User. Instead of having to install it on multiple user machines, we actually place it directly on a website and get everybody to go there. This, of course, now opens your door to allow customers to configure their purchase directly on your website. When combined with a 3D preview and the ability to quote in real time, this becomes an incredibly powerful marketing tool. Keep in mind, if you want customers to receive generated SOLIDWORKS data, you will need Autopilot for them to get that. Finally, we have DriveWorks Pro Server, which is actually a free module. DriveWorks Pro Server allows you to create shared DriveWorks groups inside of an SQL server. This allows us to collaborate a bit more effectively. Well, now that I've shared with you my personal top 5 reasons to upgrade to DriveWorks Pro, let's just recap this. We started at number 5 with free plugins. Then at number 4, we talked about richer form controls in 3D. Number 3 was database input and output. Over at number 2, we discussed Excel and Word document automation. And lastly, my number 1 reason to upgrade to DriveWorks Pro was all the new DriveWorks modules. Thanks for allowing me to share with you today. I really hope this helps you to decide which flavor of DriveWorks is right for you. I truly believe that the cost difference between DriveWorks Solo and DriveWorks Pro is pretty easy to justify when you consider just how considerably powerful DriveWorks Pro is over Solo. Oh, by the way, here are some more reasons.